Hello, everyone, and welcome to the premiere episode of Stu's News. As you saw, the SmackDown Stu YouTube channel has gone on a little makeover. It is now called the Stu Network, where we'll still have the SmackDown Stu report of professional wrestling, but I wanted to expand it and add the Stu's News YouTube show because I wanted to be able to talk to you about anything and everything from politics to sports to news to you name it. We can cover it. I didn't want to be muzzled with just professional wrestling because I do have a lot to say. So, uh, in addition to the SmackDown Stu report on the Student Network or the Stu Network, you get Stu's News, which is, like I said, my view on news, sports, and etc., and anything that I think would interest you. And we're going to start this podcast off with Charlie Kirk, and we left you off last week with the 9/11 tribute, and also with news about Charlie Kirk and the assassination and the aftermath has exploded. There is a lot of um, things that happened when it came to the Charlie Kirk and the aftermath. So we're going to cover that today on the Stu's News podcast. And I'm going to see if we have some issues with our microphone here, but I don't think so. Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about first the developments in the Charlie Kirk assassination. Of course, his killer um, was caught last week and arrested. His father, and we'll get to that in a moment, refused refused the reward. He did refuse the award because he was going to give it to Charlie Kirk's family. Um, so um, so that's what's going to happen. And so he refused the reward. He's going to give it to Charlie Kirk's family. I want to start off with Erica Kirk, who today was named the new CEO of Turning Point USA. She was elected the new CEO and chair of the board following Charlie's assassination. That's his widow, and that's what he wanted. He made it clear numerous times that should he pass away, he wants his wife Erica to have to be the person who gets the who becomes the chairman of the board and CEO and runs the company. So that's what they decided to do, and I'm happy about that. And if you saw her speech, it was horrifying. Like, it was so sad, the speech that she used, that she did when she came out. She was a woman scorned, and people criticize her, and I'll get into that in a moment. That's another thing that irks me. It's another thing that irks me about that, and that people are making a mockery of the death, and all the left wing people. They're really they're taken to a different level. But what she said, Erica Kirk, was unbelievable. What she said, what she was saying. She was a very, very powerful speech. How she had to tell her kids about him, and she said very powerfully, "You don't know what you've unleashed." She's going to keep his message alive, but I think she should have immense amount of security watching her because she has kids, and you know, people are sick these days, and they may target her, and yeah, they may target her, and so she should have security. She should have security at all times around her. We'll talk about the funeral in a moment of Charlie Kirk, but yeah, she really made she really um, she really deserves kudos for, for having the bravery to come out and speak her mind, um, and come out, because look, nobody understands. You understand losing, becoming a widow, losing your husband. It's it's very, very traumatic. She was there. Um, she was there when it happened, and happened in front of his kids and everything. So it's very, very, very sad. So it was powerful, and I applaud her. And everybody knew at that point, everybody knew that Erica Kirk would be the new CEO and chairwoman of the board for Turning Point USA. So that's and so and the another like I said, in other news, Charlie Kirk's funeral will be held this Sunday, September 21st, from the State Farm Stadium in Phoenix, Arizona, where the Arizona Cardinals play. Of course, there's a website created in Kirk's memory at fightforcharlie.com, and says the doors will open at 8 a.m. local time to the stadium, with the program beginning at 11 a.m. And the service details: Turning Point USA has announced remarks will be delivered by Erica Kirk, and of course, several high-ranking U.S. administrative figures, including President Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance. Secretaries Marco Rubio, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and Pete Hegseth will also speak, as well as Tulsi Gabbard, Donald Trump Jr., Tucker Carlson, Stephen Miller, and Sergio Gore. And of course, Turning Point said more names will be announced in the coming days. And of course, a lot of the dignitaries will attend the funeral service. His killer was caught, was charged. The district attorney formally put out the charges, the what it's going to be. Now, what it's going to be. They said that there was text messages which they revealed between the killer. I'm not even going to say his name, waste of human life, and his transgender lover, in which he admits that he pulled the trigger, and that he was before he was going to drive home. He lived 3 hours from where it was. He was thinking of circling back to get the rifle, but the cops were there, and he was pretty sure they checked that field. So, and his DNA was on the trigger, and they said he hid it in his pants. That's why he was limping, and it's unbelievable. So he was charged, and he more than likely facing the death penalty. But I have a theory that he'll more than likely, I can see it coming, that there's a chance that he may plead guilty, and not guilty by reason of insanity, which is what they all do. And what they all do when things happen, there's a chance he could do that. Just like in Montreal here, the mother that abandoned her child, killed her child, and she pleaded not guilty, or she was not guilty by reason of insanity. So I wouldn't be surprised if this guy pleads the same. And I can't believe the reaction to his passing, the dancing on graves. There's a podcast that is done by local Montrealers, Terry DeMonte and Ted Bird, the Terry and Ted podcast. It drops every Wednesday at midnight, or Tuesday night at midnight, and they handled talking about the Charlie Kirk assassination very, very well. They basically humanized him. They were professionals. They humanized him and said, look, even though I didn't agree with his politics, it's still a man, a father, and a husband that was gunned down at 31. It's horrific. And the domino effect started to happen as yesterday ABC announced that Jimmy Kimmel Live is suspended indefinitely. Disney is pulling ABC Jimmy Kimmel Live indefinitely um, because of comments that he made. So Nexstar Media, that the group that owns hundreds of television stations, um, uh, and Disney announced they're pulling the plug indefinitely on Jimmy Kimmel Live. Jimmy Kimmel made some comments that were not, great, that were horrible. His comments, he accused conservatives on Monday of reaching new lows in trying to pin a left-wing ideology on 22-year-old suspect, and I'm not going to say his name, even though prosecutors reaffirmed those ties on Tuesday. He goes, "We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it," which is horrifying to declare a man's death. So now, appearing on Wednesday's The Benny Show, this Carr, who is from the FCC, he called Kimmel's comments some of the sickest conduct and suggested there were potential avenues the FCC could pursue. In some quarters, there's a very concerted effort to try to lie to the American people about the nature of one of the most significant newsworthy public interest acts that we've seen in a long time, and what appears to be an action by Jimmy Kimmel to play into the narrative that this was somehow a MAGA or Republican motivated person. So basically, the comments, and that's what I thought, implied that they did it to themselves, that the person was a MAGA, which is not true. And, there'll be more, the shoe's going to drop for more people. Late night hasn't been what it used to be since the days of Johnny Carson and then David Letterman and Jay Leno and Conan O'Brien, because yes, they would make fun of the politicians, but they would make fun of everybody. They wouldn't just put a political stance. They would make fun of every single person, every side. It doesn't matter who it was, Republican, Democrat. They would hit everybody. They would make fun of everybody, and it would be fun. Now they're politicians. They're not late night hosts. They're politicians, and they're putting their political spin on it, which is wrong. When President Biden was in office, they barely made jokes about Biden, and they barely, so it's a narrative. They're all politicians. They're not late night hosts. Gone are the days of Carson, where late night television was funny, where political humor was laughed at because it was no sides were picked. It was a free for all. They were insulting everybody, making fun of them, and it was it was funny. It was crazy. So they, so it was funny. But now it's not funny. They're all being political, and the shoe's dropping. Look, we already saw that Stephen Colbert's not being renewed, and now Jimmy Kimmel was pulled off, and because he's a staunch critic of Trump, but to categorize this tragedy, a man, a father, a husband, trying to insinuate that the guy was MAGA, that the guy was their own, the killer, and that's simply not true. He was radicalized, the last year when he was that relationship with the transgender. So, and it's disgusting. How many people, and you saw the news clips of people being fired from their jobs for speaking out on social media and applauding the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Now, people don't get it. They don't get it that you work for a company, whether it be fast food, whether it be a restaurant, whether it be a courier service, whether it be a school, whether you're a director of the school, or you work in a school, or it doesn't matter where you work. You're a representative of the company, and when you make comments on social media, it's reaching everybody. And a company doesn't want to associate with somebody who makes those comments, because why? They'll lose customers. They'll lose advertisers. That's why they pulled the plug on Jimmy Kimmel, because he was going to lose advertisers, because what he said was in bad taste. When you're working for a company, you have to watch what you say on social media because you represent that company. You think that, you know, what you say is not going to affect you. Yes, it is, because your company boss sees it. You're going to get the axe because you represent that company, and no company wants to lose money because of an employee can't keep their mouth shut on social media. That's why when you apply for a job, with the police department, with the Canadian RCMP, things like that, they ask you to see your social media because they want to see if you're a risk. If you're gonna, have verbal diarrhea, if you're gonna, and you're gonna say these stupid comments. That's why I say, be careful what you post on social media because it's gonna come back to haunt you. It will come back to haunt you, 1,000%. Yeah, it will come back to haunt you 1,000%. And so don't watch where you post. People don't get it. People don't get it at all. You have an opinion, yes, but keep it to yourself or to your friends. Don't put it out on social media. You're questioning why you're being fired. Yes, you're being fired for the stupid comments, but that's not the bigger reason that you're being fired or let go from your job. It's because you are a representative of that company and they don't want to be associated with somebody who can make comments like that, because if people know that they work for that company, and especially if you advertise it, they won't do business with that company. People who don't agree with what you're saying. So it's crazy. And the death that, we'll the funeral should be something to see on Sunday from the Arizona Stadium. And so we'll have that on future Stews News. We're going to go to local news now. The STM, for those of you who get around by public transit in Montreal, the maintenance workers will be on strike starting Monday. They're going to do what they're going to do is on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, they're going to be at a reduced service. But Tuesdays, Thursdays, and the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, they'll be on normal bus schedule. So on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the metro is going to only open at 6:30 a.m., meaning the first train will leave at 6:30 a.m. No trains will be in service before that time, and the station entrances will be locked. And metro service is only offered during these time periods from in the morning, but morning rush hour between 6:30 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. But they start up again at 2:45 p.m. for the afternoon rush hour until 5:45 p.m. And then between 11 p.m. and the usual metro closing time. So they start again at 11 p.m. Now, the beginning of gradual closing of the stations, they'll close the stations as the last train passes. So you have to consult the schedule of the last train for the exact time at your specific location. So meaning that the metro's open at 6:30. So the first train will leave at 6:30. The last train will leave at 9:30 a.m. So you have to arrive in the metro station well before 9:30. You can't arrive there at 9:30 because that's when the metro is going to pass. The doors will be locked. And as for the buses, same thing, Tuesday, Thursday, and the weekend regular service, but Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the regular service at night until 1 a.m. And then the no departures between 1:15 a.m. and 6:15 a.m. And service will start in the morning between 6:15 a.m. and 9:15 a.m. So which means the first bus will leave at 6:15 a.m. and the last bus will leave there at 9:15 a.m. Then there'll be no departures between 9:15 a.m. and 3 p.m. Regular service between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. and then back to regular schedule service as of 11:15 p.m. And all buses departing during the times will complete their routes to the terminal. So the first bus will leave at 6:15 from the beginning of the line, and the last bus will leave at 9:15. So you got to check the schedules for that, and we'll see how it'll be for about 3 weeks from September 22nd to August 5th. So you'll have to take a look at your schedules. You can go to Chrono or the Transit app and so you can get the bus times. That'll be crucial. It's not going to be great, but what can I tell you? In sports, sports and news, and I'm happy about this. The Montreal bridge, the Jacques Bizard Bridge, which connects the island of Montreal to Ile Bizard, will now bear the name of Guy Lafleur, the Montreal Canadiens, the late Guy Lafleur, the Montreal Canadiens legend. It'll be called Le Pont Guy Lafleur. Guy Lafleur grew up for 30 years in Ile Bizard. So I'm happy about that. The Jacques Bizard Bridge will now be renamed. Will be renamed the Guy Lafleur Bridge, or Le Pont Guy Lafleur. Of course, Guy Lafleur passed away from cancer, and he. So it's great. I'm happy about that. The Guy Lafleur Bridge, the Jacques Bizard Bridge, is going to be called Le Pont Guy Lafleur. In sports tonight, in Thursday night football, the 2-0 Buffalo Bills will host the 0-2 Miami Dolphins tonight, and tonight there are a whole bunch of games on Sunday with the Pittsburgh Steelers, the 1-1, both 1-1 Pittsburgh Steelers and New England facing off in New England. The Jets will visit the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The 0-2 Jets will face the 2-0 Tampa Bay Bucks in Tampa Bay. The 2-0 Green Bay Packers will visit the 0-2 Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. The Las Vegas Raiders will visit the Washington Commanders. They're both 1-1 in Washington. The 0-2 Houston Texans will visit the 1-1 Jacksonville Jaguars. The 2-0 Indianapolis Colts will visit the 0-2 Tennessee Titans in Tennessee. The Atlanta Falcons, the 1-1 Atlanta Falcons, will play the 0-2 Carolina Panthers in Carolina. The Joe Burrow-less 2-0 Cincinnati Bengals will visit the Minnesota Vikings, the 1-1 Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. Joe Burrow is out for 3 months, so we'll have to see about that. Also, so that's and then also the 2-0 LA Rams will face the 2-0 Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia. So it'll be a battle of who will be 3-0. The New Orleans Saints the 0-2 New Orleans Saints will visit the Seattle Seahawks, the 1-1 Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. The 1-1 Denver Broncos will visit the LA Chargers, Los Angeles Chargers, who are 2-0 in Los Angeles. The Dallas Cowboys, the 1-1 Dallas Cowboys, will visit the Chicago Bears, the 0-2 Chicago Bears in Chicago. The Arizona Cardinals, the 2-0 Arizona Cardinals, will take on the 2-0 San Francisco 49ers in San Francisco. So we'll see who will remain undefeated. And the Sunday primetime game, the 0-2 Kansas City Chiefs will visit the 0-2 New York Giants on Sunday Night Football, live from MetLife Stadium. And Monday night, the 1-1 Detroit Lions will visit the 1-1 Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. That's the Monday night game. So that's what's on tap for the NFL. The Toronto Blue Jays still looking to get into the playoffs. They were beaten today. They 4-0 by the Tampa Bay Rays. They need to get a win to jump in the playoffs and clinch the first overall in the American League. We're going to talk about the Canadians after, because this weekend I watched the rookies and I saw some of the highlights. Tomorrow night in the NFL, the Montreal Alouettes, the 6-7 Montreal Alouettes, will visit the 5-8 Toronto Argonauts, as Montreal looks to continue to win again, to get their second win in a row. And BC will take on Calgary in Calgary as well, the late game. Then on Saturday, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers will visit the Ottawa Renegades in Ottawa. The Ottawa Red Blacks. The Edmonton Eskimos will visit the Hamilton Tiger Cats the second game on Saturday, and on Sunday back yeah. So that's the week for the CFL. And I want to talk about the Montreal Canadiens, the rookies. Oh, what a great game on Wednesday. Sorry, on Saturday night. Ivan Demidov was unbelievable behind the boards. He was a magician with the puck. Can't wait for the season to start. The preseason gets underway tomorrow, but us here in Montreal, the first game will be Monday night for the Canadiens as they um, welcome the Pittsburgh Penguins at home for the first preseason game. That's Monday night. And a special congratulations to Pierre Rude on 50 years of uh, broadcasting. There was a show, L'Antichambre, that paid tribute to Pierre Rude. And, for me, he's the voice of the Montreal Canadiens. I don't even watch it in English when Pierre Rude is on. I only watch the English feed when TVA has the games because in French there's nobody but Pierre Rude. He's the greatest. And I said this to friends numerous times, and I'll say it again here. Pierre Rude should have a deal to be the exclusive voice. It should have been done a long time ago. The exclusive voice of the Montreal Canadiens. There's an announcer. I don't know if it's still in play for the Toronto Raptors. Who in the playoffs he was the voice of the Toronto Raptors. So he would call the games on TSN and on Sportsnet. He'd have different broadcast partners on either of the networks, but he'd still be the voice. And Pierre Rude should have signed a contract. They should have said he's the voice with the Montreal Canadiens, that he's the voice and that he will call the games on all the networks. But they didn't do that. But they didn't do that. But it's crazy. They didn't do that. They should have done that because he's the best. He is the voice of the Canadiens. His enemy. His famous. Oh, let's see, enemy. He's great in that regard. So congratulations to Pierre Rude, the best announcer in the business, and my favorite Montreal Canadiens announcer. He's up there with René Le Cavalier. They did a tribute, and Claude Mayotte said the successor of René Le Cavalier, and I agree. He had said that he used instead of Comte because René Le Cavalier told him that he switched. He used to say Comte, but he explained to him you can't count a goal. You can count money, you can count things, but you can't count a goal. So he changed it, and that's why Pierre Rude all the time used it. So, and I look forward to the Canadian season. Demidov, Dobson. We'll see who survived the rookie camp. We'll see if Joe Veleno they got. That hopefully he'll be on and teach the new guys. Lane Hudson. It's going to be. They look good on paper. They look good on paper. They need a second line center. They got rid of Carey Price's contract, which is good. That clears up some money for them to get somebody. But we'll see how the season unfolds. We'll watch the first preseason game. People were complaining that Demidov didn't play against Toronto on Sunday, but they need to have other players. They need to see, showcase all the rookies. But I think they're going to be great this year. They're going to, maybe they'll surprise us. They look good on paper. We'll see how it goes because they were playing rookies. We'll see once the season gets going. But I'm excited about the Montreal Canadiens, and we'll see what happens. So we're going to end it off here. Thank you for joining us for Stu's News. Don't forget to subscribe to the Stu Network and like the Stu News show here. And we'll be back next week with another edition of Stu's News and more than likely another edition of the SmackDown Stu Report. So this is Stuart Myers saying ciao for now. Oh, yes. And a special hello to Jana, to Gigi, one of my greatest supporters following. So a hi Gigi and a good night Gigi, and ciao for now.